the team, Ryan and Doug.
Woo!
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for the screening.
You know what? Thanks for making such a great film. I wish we could talk about it for an hour.
Me too.
But really, just really great work. Both of you, great performance, great filmmaking. I've seen it more than once, and just watching it over again, you see so much more subtlety, and the way you progress that evening, and the way your performance evolves over that evening. It really is just really rare filmmaking to see something just that well thought out and put together.
Cool. Thank you. That's great.
And in the independent arena, it's just extra impressive.
It was funny. I was thinking there's a mixer last night and we chatted, and during the film I thought, God, he's just seen it twice. This will be his third time. I think he's getting more out of this. And I was thinking about you during the movie because I don't know how much you show it to people, and after one screening, I don't know how much.
Anyone
how
catch
much of the
Belgium
foreshadowing?
become Luxembourg? Anyone catch the Belgian Luxembourg? I didn't catch that the first time.
Right on. Yeah, it was funny when when we were writing it and talking about it and doing the costuming and all these things. I mean, I hope everyone can grasp at the end that he's not in the military. We had cuts earlier, which maybe that's. As a filmmaker, I don't want to hammer things home too far. I would hope that the audience member can put some of the puzzle pieces together themselves, and so you don't want to push that line too much. And so I'm glad everybody got that. And so in the process of writing and doing costumes and stuff, we're doing things both right and wrong on purpose. And we want to if we did it all right, then. If he's consistently a soldier and all these things, then I don't know. It did seem more fun to me to poke holes in it along the way and to be inconsistent. And so it was funny because sometimes you're deliberately right and sometimes you're deliberately wrong.
Yeah, and sometimes he's on his BS.
Right.
And sometimes someone catches him off guard, and all of a sudden his BS, his wall of BS gets a little lower for a minute. It's really, I mean, honestly, that your performance is so good. Thanks. Right? Wasn't that a great performance? Thank you.
Oh yeah.
When you begin, like the people in the bars, I naturally like a guy who's serving his country.
Right.
And I'm rooting for you. You seem so cool and likable, and the degree of dislike that you make the audience have. I mean, probably was your direction too. But were you guys just saying, "All right, you're a bigger douchebag now"?
10% more.
It's very subtle the way you are continually your interactions with other people. Just you're so likable in the beginning, and by the end, we're like, man, only his dad likes him. His mother's sick of him.
That's right.
I mean, we were our whole thing was we really didn't want to show the cards too much, so. And we just tried to motivate it in the idea that he was trying to pull it off and also get a free drink. So in order to get a free drink out of someone, that you haven't seen in a while, I don't know, you got to kind of romance them a little bit.
Yeah.
But then we're also playing with having him, be drunk. So
I think that was the most of our conversation. So, okay, how much drunk is this?
How drunk is he here?
Compared to drunkenness, there was a lot of scales of how drunk is this.
Yeah. Which is difficult acting.
Yeah.
That's actually really, I don't know if there's actors here or directors here. Obviously there's directors, but yeah.
It's an effort to try to look drunk.
To get a little drunker and not seem comedic drunk is not easy.
The worst part, I got to be honest, was drinking all the near beer. I mean, in the bowling alley over 2 days, I think I drank maybe 3 days, maybe like a case or two of near beer, and didn't really eat.
We do this stupid things we're sick of the beer. Can we try mixing some iced tea maybe, or it got very challenging.
Yeah.
Not for me, of course.
So feeling a little sick and nauseous wasn't hard, which helped, I think.
I also want to, real quick, Ari's here and John Orontes is here. There are a couple of other actors who
sorry to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I really thought that was going to go ugly with the
Right,
security.
right.
That was
It's one of my favorite scenes. Great
good
job.
acting.
Great job, Tom.
Any questions from the audience?
Yeah, so, this question's for Ryan. What did you do to prepare for the role, or what did you think of as the character's motivations, beyond the simple thing of, like, wanting to impress people or get free drinks?
So, I mean, when Doug was first speaking about the project, you know, he said, "Oh, it's a small town thing," and I, you know, grew up in Carpinteria, which is a really small town, and I don't remember there being that many veterans, but I do remember just this feeling of dread about getting out of the small town that people when they were teenagers had, and then, you know, as I got older and went back to the town and was like, oh my God, this is such an amazing place to grow up. Like, what were we all thinking? But then seeing people who had never left who still had that dread, and it was even deeper. And then we started playing with the fact that, you know, if I mean, this is complete actor nuts and bolts, but if I played it actually like he really did get back and had convinced himself that he had, then I would try to play all the heroic parts of that, and then and try not to betray any of that angst underneath it as much as possible was our goal, because it could have been played, you know, a very different way, but we were trying to.
Yeah, I think it was how we were.
Yeah.
Like at first, it was like you're not a guy pretending. You're just this guy.
Yeah.
You know, that was the effort for the first number of scenes.
Yeah, and then as the stuff started stripping away, we played with the idea of Chad hearing things, and like the other character didn't really see his reaction to it, but you could see him kind of, and then he would say something about it to kind of confirm, like when he's walking through the park with the girl played by Jess, who was an amazing actress. You know, she's talking about his ex-girlfriend, and he keeps asking her because he just completely fucked this person over, and he's just hoping it's not going to screw up his night. He's such a terrible dude.
And I have to say that you kind of said this, and this is just to get this off my chest of satisfaction. My hope with the movie was to make a story about people like to really like the guy, and then to really not like the guy, and have the guy do as little of that as possible.
Yeah.
So it's about how he responds to other people, and you know, it's not a traditional you know, hero thing where he's, you know, the main character is the one driving, you know, every turn.
Yeah.
For the most part, everyone else is kind of imposing this on him, and that was a very deliberate effort. And I think, you know, when I watch the movie now, I think, oh, I think I did that. I think he's, you know, it's great that people like him at the beginning and don't like him at the end. Hopefully, you know, have some empathy for him at the end. But you know, if he's great and then not great, and that's check.
A lot of people smiling at him, and then when he turns his back, they get a frown.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's subtle. That's but you catch it, especially on the third time.
and through cutting it too, because we both did different parts of that and worked together cutting it, and I really noticed it seeing it again, just how we kept going back to people looking at him and their reaction of him, like those two privates. You know, it's all about their experience of his bullshit, basically, which was kind of cool, and also a good way to kind of, you know, slide.
Well, they were a great device to keep the mask on, because they're so young. They're treating him with respect.
Right.
So you're like, well, then maybe he's legit because they're respecting him. That was a great device you put in.
Yeah, thank you. That's great. I'm glad you got that. Yes, sir.
Who or what inspired the creation of this character?
So it was a number of things. I really, you know, I sure as a producer and filmmaker, everyone here, you know, it's kind of a confluence of events. You go, oh, that'd be great. So it was a combination of I really liked an old movie called The Swimmer, which is very similar in that way. He's liked at the beginning, they don't like him at the end. I thought this was a fantastic movie. I was doing you know, I want to make a different movie though, and I was actually my cousin married a guy who got a fantastic recognition in the military, and we were having dinner with him the evening of, and it was at the White House and really fancy and all this stuff, and he was saying like, oh, well, before they did this, they wanted to, you know, a couple guys came up to me and basically just like the old guy at the beginning in that one little flashback, you know, military people told him, be careful. If you accept every drink you're given, you're in trouble. And then I go, ding, that's it. This guy can be in the military, because I wanted to have a guy coming back to his hometown. I love the idea of shooting in Iowa. So all these things, and then once it occurred to me, oh, this is perfect for the military, because instantly when he walks in the room, you respect him. And so that makes it a little easier for my job. So, you know, the uniform earns respect, and that it would be, you know, he'd get pressure to have drinks, and I was fascinated by that.
And also, and we talked about this in creating the character. Once anybody puts that uniform on, they're perceived in so many different ways that are so unpredictable based on the person that's doing the perceiving. And that we really relied on that.
Yeah.
And the funny story.
Yeah.
While we were doing some of these pickups, we were doing pickups on graduation weekend on the main street in Dubuque, and I was wearing. It's one of the other subtle things is he's wearing the wrong patches. He's wearing Army and Marine Corps patches and different specialties of that, which you would never do, and I was wearing that stuff and we were shooting in a live environment, and this guy just accosted me out of this bar. And
it was a little scary for a second.
It was pretty scary. He was a really big drunk veteran, and he had a goatee that was dyed blue, so he was like really freaky.
I think he even made a point of saying like he looks for the stolen valor thing.
Yes,
like he's called people out in this before. Like, and it was like, well, we're just making a movie. We're just making a movie. It's okay.
I'm like, see, that's a camera,
right.
And he was really into it, and he didn't let it go for about 15 minutes. Finally, we were like, all right, man, we'll see you later.
I mean, you guys are shining a light on the issue he cares about.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes you drunk to catch.
Right.
Oh,
it's on your side, pal.
Well, on the flip side, people did thank you for your service when we were shooting as well. The college students definitely did go up to you and thank you for your service.
That was awful. The first probably 10 to 15 times, I would say, I would correct them. You know, I was like driving to set, get gas, and I just had put my uniform on, and people were like, "Thank you for your service, sir," and I would correct them, and after a while, it was just too complicated to do that, so I just sort of, and then I was like, Jesus, I'm just like the fucking guy.
Well, except you weren't trying to get laid.
That's right. We're gonna freak it out. Although that one 7-Eleven clerk, no, I'm just hustle coffee.
That was
Any more questions?
Where did all these supporting actors come from?
Oh,
Right. How you shot in Iowa, but you're not living in Iowa.
Yeah, so I've got a bunch of family in Iowa. I was born there, and so Jeremy Clark, who was the main character during the bowling scene, he was in a couple of movies that I worked on before, a movie that Darren directed, and he, I don't know where it came out, but you know, he just, you know, after a project a long time ago, he's like, oh, well, you know, I know a bunch of actors, and you know, I'm in theater in Chicago, and I know a bunch of people, and so that, in a combination of I have a bunch of family in Iowa, I thought, okay, well, you know, Dubuque looks great. There's, you know, access to, it seems to be a bunch of legitimate actors, and so the effort is to reach out to Jeremy and go, hey, dude, you know, if you know people, sign them up, and so that's how we casted basically a lot of the primary parts through people, actors in Chicago who are, you know, theater actors out there. Yes, sir.
So when you're doing the live locations and you know you're just walking into an environment, are you lighting anything, or are you just going natural? You're shooting on natural light or whatever light's there.
I mean, this is one of my beefs, but I wish we did light a lot more than I wanted to, because I wanted to just go, and it was hard for me. But we didn't use that many real live situations. Most of the places, the bars, or places are after hours and things like that. So, like him walking in the streets and stuff like that.
Was live.
And you know, we did a couple of actions and you know, just somebody walking out of the building or something. We would do that with you know, just during normal business hours. But essentially everything was off hours, which made it a really hard production because we would start at 10 o'clock at night and shoot until 7 in the morning. And, you know, extras don't want to show up for that.
Yeah, especially outside when it's
Yeah.
20 degrees.
It was almost snowing our
Yeah.
first week there. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm sorry that we have another film coming in,
That's
and
all
I
right.
can't go too much longer, but I just want to say, after watching it a couple times on a computer, I finally got that punch in the face, which is the name Tyler on the baseball uniform.
Thank you. I want to ask
That's-
almost.
for an independent to have that many subtle things, but you know, to see Taylor and have people say Taylor and Tyler throughout the film, and then just see Tyler on a baseball uniform in his parents' house.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
was
right
great.
on, dude.
It's great.
Made my day. Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you very much.